All right. Well, welcome to another episode in the Run Breiter Podcast. This is episode number 29, and I'm excited to say that we have on Mike today. His famous Instagram and TikTok name, you may know him there, is MagicMileMike. And Mike, I will say it's been really fun following your journey, your page. You really post a lot of cool, unique, comedic content, and I can definitely appreciate that because I love running just like you do, but a little humor with it as well as a little bit of serious content. I think that balance is really awesome. But, I don't want to do too much of the talking today. I, of course, want this to be focused on, getting to know you at a higher level and allowing you to share things about your brand with this community here. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Feel free to introduce yourself with any backgrounds, things that you want to talk about, and then we'll go ahead with some questions here that I've got for you.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for the intro and thanks for having me on.
You bet.
I got onto TikTok, or Run Talk, I should say. I don't even believe TikTok exists. It's like all Run Talk for me. But I got on literally to disrupt the running community with comedy sprinkled in with some inspiration and some tips. But I just wanted to create content and continue to create content that just makes people laugh. That's all centered around running. But if we take it back from the start, I started running in about third grade, I would say, with this private track club. It was a free club. And that's kind of where I fell in love. I mean, even before that, if we're going way back in first grade, we used to have to run around the big grass field and everyone hated it. But I was like, let's go. This is the time to compete. And I played football my whole life, and running was kind of just a thing to get me in shape for football. And then as I got older, everyone kept growing and I kind of stayed the same size. So I was like, maybe I should take up this running thing. I don't have to be big for this. So I ran in middle school, high school, and I was a 300-meter hurdler and a 110-meter hurdler in high school. So all short distance. So it was odd getting into this longer distance stuff. But and then I went to Cal State Northridge. I ran track there. That was Division I. I got to train under a two-time gold Olympian, Quincy Watts, just for a year because my senior year, I ran City College first. And then I transferred there. And I just ran my junior year. There's so many politics involved in sports, and in D1, it was next level. I couldn't believe it. It took the fun out of it for me. And so my senior year, I decided to focus on my major, which was cinema and television arts. And then I took a few years off because I ran my whole life and played football and always was active. So I really wanted just a break. So I took a few years off and then was like, you know what? Let's run a marathon. And now I'm hitting my third marathon, the 2023 LA Marathon.
Incredible. So I want to touch on your running journey here, which you spoke about a little bit at a higher level, because I think it's such a cool story, right? Starting to really notice your love for running as young as being in first grade, when a lot of the kids weren't really into those activities, but you had a lot of enthusiasm and excitement with it, clearly, to now obviously training for marathons, but in between that, also seeing a lot of success running at the middle school, high school level, and then into a Division I program where you were able to run under a well-known iconic coach, it sounds like. And so I'm curious though, I mean, it sounds like at first when you were competing at a younger age, and even at a very high level at the Division I level, I mean, most people, even if you try really hard in track and field, aren't able to run at the Division I level. That's not easy. What led you to doing more of those short distance races compared to the longer distance ones that you're now doing? Because obviously there's a big difference between 300-meter races and a marathon, right?
Yeah. So that's a really interesting question, because in high school, I ran hurdles because I was too slow to do the open 400. And I was too slow to do the 100 or 200. And not that many people really put all of their love and attention into hurdles. It was kind of something you got thrown into, at least in my experience. So I did that, and I didn't really have much success in high school. As a kid, football and track, I was flying, I was moving. And then I just hit this wall, and like I said, everyone kind of like kept growing and maturing, and I matured. Like my senior year, I took off again. So like freshman, sophomore, junior year running hurdles, not much going on there. And then my senior year, my times in the 300-meter hurdles was dropping by half of seconds, which is a lot in a race that's so short. Um, and it was crazy. Like I went from like running 42-second 300-meter hurdles to in the 37s.
Wow.
And it was just like, what the hell's going on? I felt like, you know, in like movies when the witch, like the Sabrina teenage witch, like she turns 16 and gets her powers. Like
Yeah.
that's how I felt. I was like, what is happening? Like this is awesome. So and distance was like, it wasn't cool if you were a sprinter. Like so I just, and plus like I didn't want to run distance. It sounded horrible.
Mhm.
So I just love the quick paces, and just like the power behind those workouts. Like jogging seems so boring to me, but now I understand you can have quick, powerful, amazing runs with distance. So yeah, I saw my times drop, and then I went to City College because like I wasn't getting any offers to go run straight out of high school. I think because I peaked so late.
Yeah.
And then City College was great. I had an amazing coach there. And yeah, I eventually went to Cal State Northridge, but this is kind of a crazy story. When I was at Sacramento City College, I got my first like big offer from Kansas State, and they offered me a 75% scholarship, which
Wow.
was going to be around like, I was going to spend about 2 years there. So it was going to be around like $50,000 probably.
Wow.
And I felt super guilty because I didn't want to go there. They didn't have my major. I wanted to study TV. And I knew that like I was going to be able to make connections if I went to Cal State Northridge. So but they offered to fly me out, and I was like, "This is a once in a lifetime chance." I mean, I know it's Kansas, not like the coolest place, but like I wanted to experience like being pampered and being shown around the school and just feeling like a bit of a celebrity. So I was like, "Sure, totally interested in Kansas."
I don't blame
But,
you.
but dude, once I got there, they sold the hell out of that place. I was like, Kansas is like the new most amazing place ever because it was like everything was centered around sports there. So it's a real college town because what the hell else are you going to do in Kansas?
Mhm.
So I remember being in my hotel room, just like literally crying. I was in the bathroom. My dad's in the other room. He came with me, and my parents were going to help out with college. And like, I don't financially, and I don't come from money. And I knew this was going to be like a big burden for them to help out. And I was just like so stressed about, is this the right decision? I'm turning down like a lot of freaking money. So I wrote down all my favorite schools. I wrote down on a piece of paper. I did Cal State Northridge. It was like on a napkin from the hotel. I
Nice.
wrote Cal State Northridge, Kansas State, UCLA, and like two others. And I mixed them up. I totally believe in this stuff. But I mixed it up and I pulled Cal State Northridge. And I was like, all right, let's try this again. Make sure everyone up there is on the same page. And then I picked Northridge two more times.
Oh my
And it
God.
was, I was already leaning towards there. But like that solidified it for me. And I was like, all right, that's it. I wiped my tears and I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And my parents supported me, and it was the best decision I could make. And definitely something I would tell any college student or athlete is that you got to choose a place that's not just about the sports, that's going to set you up. Because I ended up meeting the love of my life. I have the career of my dreams, and like it, I don't know where I would be if I was in Kansas. Maybe still in Kansas. I don't know.
I feel like people who live in Kansas probably stay there for a long time. So,
And hey, no hate if you're in Kansas, but it's just as a TV filmmaker, I can't be there.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you sharing that story as far as like what led you there, and then the fact that I mean, I think the advice that you're talking about when you're thinking of a school to go to, especially as an athlete, you should consider the educational side of it too, because I'm sure there's some people who just go somewhere where they get the biggest scholarship or maybe there's the best coach, but with running, obviously there's ways in monetizing it after college, but for you, obviously, it sounds like you're finding a lot of fulfillment in your career now, and also doing the running as as a side hustle and something that you enjoy outside of your work. So I'm really glad that everything worked out for you, and then that napkin that you selected was the right one. But I'd love to hear like a little bit more about how it was like running in college, like how the culture was. Like, did you feel like because you were a competitive D1 athlete, it held you back at all about some of the things that maybe a typical college student would be able to do? Walk me through that experience a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I think one advantage was I got to get all my partying and craziness out at City College. So by the time I came to Northridge, I got to focus and like fully invest myself into the sport. And I didn't really care much about the social life and I'm quite the social butterfly. I love that stuff. But I knew that this was a moment in my life that I could never get back. And I'm like, I have a 2-time gold Olympian coach. Like, this is a dream.
Yeah.
I'm at Cal State Northridge. I'm running D1. Let's go all in. So I was 100% committed with my diet. They had like a professional dietitian come out that works with a bunch of Olympians, and he gave us like his, the plan, and like not that many athletes stuck to it. I was probably like one of the only ones. Everyone thought I was crazy. But yeah, the culture there was interesting because there's like, we had our running group, which was called the Dew Crew, because we were out with the morning dew.
Right.
We were there every, like 6 a.m., which I never thought was possible. But so that little group was awesome because that was with Quincy, our coach, and we all pushed each other. I loved leading the workouts and like just being on the track and just being a leader. But then the team as a whole, like I felt like was pretty toxic. And I think it just comes down to the politics that are involved. Like as an athlete, you're part of a business. And like when I went to Kansas State, they never mentioned like, yeah, they don't have film or TV here. Like it was like, we got protein machines, or you can make your own drinks. We got a weight room. So I feel like in sports there, the coaches and the teams are like, they're looking after themselves and their reputation, and they do better, they get more money. You're part of a business. So I felt that. And I think that the people who got the most love and attention were the younger athletes because they still had time to, mold and grow with them. And they were just more easily influenced. Like everything has to be about running. And like I said, it was for me, but like I also had to focus on my school, and like because my major was TV, and like I knew I wasn't going to be a professional runner, but the coaches didn't care. So that, I would say that was like, it was like finding out Santa Claus is fake when when I went to D1, because I'm like, oh, this is not all that I thought it was meant to be. But I would do it again, 100%. But yeah, I love being surrounded by athletes who wanted to push each other, but just the politics involved and all of that, I did not like at all.
Yeah, I hear that. And I feel like in that world of collegiate sport, that's probably really hard to avoid, whether you're running or playing football or anything else. So I appreciate the honesty there, but it's also cool that still, even with that, it sounds like you would do that experience again, that you would recommend it to someone.
For sure.
Which is awesome. I'm curious, I mean, because I think there are some listeners of this podcast who maybe in the situation that you were in, right, where they're a senior in high school, junior in high school, thinking of running in college, but they're not really sure like if it's the right decision for them or where they should go, things like that. I know you gave the really valuable advice of making sure to go to a school that you think is going to benefit you from an educational standpoint. Or is there any other advice that you would give for making that decision outside of that could be helpful for someone in that spot?
I think when it comes down to it, like I think you should participate in sports if like you feel like you can be competitive, because it's just an opportunity that you're not going to get back. So I say just go for it, get involved. Like you know, it's like you hear all the time in high school, the counselors are like, get involved in clubs, play sports, do this. Like, and as a high school kid, you're like, screw that. Like, I don't, at least I was. But I look back, I'm like, man, I wish I was more involved. So yeah, I mean, kind of to repeat this, but it's like pick a school that is going to benefit you beyond the sports.
Mhm.
Um, even if you're, you know, you think you're going to run professionally, you could get hurt. Anything could happen. So easy when you're straight out of high school and these coaches are like dangling all these carrots in front of you, like literally as a, I don't know, 23-year-old having, I joked about like a protein maker, smoothie maker. They had a smoothie station, and like, that was like, oh my God, you know, like, cause you're young and like, there's all these flashy things and you're like, free smoothies, like I'm gonna go to Kansas State. But you really got to look at the big picture and think years down the road.
Yeah, yeah. No, really helpful. Cool. Well, now I want to talk a little bit more about your current running, what you're working on too, as far as your content. I know you mentioned first that after college you took like a few years off of running. What you mentioned it was like more just like get a break, but what triggered you to get back into running? And what how long did it actually take? Do you recall?
Um, I I think I wasn't running for like 4 years or so.
Mhm.
And what got me to start running is when I would like, you know, say like, I don't know, do like a little shuffle. I
Yeah.
really felt my chest bouncing. And I was like, whoa, this is new. And like I would look in the mirror and I would see like you know, like my love handles. And I'm like, I weighed the most I had ever weighed. And it wasn't just about the weight or how I looked, it was about how I felt. And I felt like crap. Um, and like I'm kind of like an all in type of guy. So I'm also all out type of guy. So I was done. And I was like, man, I know that right now in my life, this is a turning point. So I either need to get back into it or I'm going to be someone that I don't want to be. So again, since I'm extreme, I was like, screw it. I'm gonna sign up for a marathon. It will hold me accountable. And I did no training plan. I just winged it. My ego took over, and I'm like, I can do this. Which looking back was like horrible. But yeah, and I went from there, and then I fell in love with distance and the running community and Run Talk, and I was like, whoa, there's other people that are like this crazy. Like there's
Yeah.
more, because at first I wasn't on Run Talk. I really had no exposure to other runners, so I felt like so alone until I ran the marathon. And I don't know if you ever ran the LA Marathon, but it's like packed with people the entire time. I usually run with headphones. I had them out the entire time because just like the sound of the crowd was just insane.
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't done the LA Marathon. That's definitely one that I want to do. I most recently did the New York City one, so it's probably
Nice.
pretty similar like to that. But yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, I know you obviously live in LA, and so you naturally did that marathon. What, ever since you got back into running, competitive distance running, what are some of the races that you've done? Has it been solely just marathons? Have you explored with other distances? And, around how many have you done?
Yeah, so I've done a few half marathon, or wait, no, not a few. I think I've done two, and I'm doing another one in January, the Rose Bowl Marathon.
Luck.
Um, and I've done two marathons, a 5K. So I can still count all these on my hands. This is all fairly new. The LA Marathon was in 2020.
Mhm.
And then I stopped running again after a while because I was super paranoid about COVID. And like right when my marathon ended, like literally like 3 days later, everyone was like, oh, we think this isn't just the flu. Like this is something more. So I was spooked running on trails, the street with other runners. So that sucked because I like lost everything. Um, and then once COVID started to kind of die out a little bit, I got back into it. But I love the idea of half marathons. I think long term that's going to be my jam.
Mhm.
But right now, being such a competitor, I love chasing the times and seeing how far I can knock down that marathon time. So I'm going to continue to do halves in between my marathon training. But yeah, I want to see how far I could get that time down before I start running halves, and then I mean halves like more competitively. Then I'll do that for halves, and then I'll be 90 and I'll be good.
That's awesome. So do you have like a specific time that you have in mind, or is it more just seeing how far you can take your limits and understanding that?
Yeah, more seeing how far I can take it. Like, okay, my first marathon was 4 hours and 57 minutes. And that was no training, just winging it, which I don't recommend anyone do.
Yeah.
At like mile 4, I was like, God damn, like I still got a lot left. Like my longest run was 15 miles during that training.
Oh my God.
And then the next marathon, I followed a training plan. I cleaned up my eating a bit. And now this one, that was Big Sur Marathon. Now this one, my third, like I'm just honing in more and more. So 457, then to 403. So I got to break 4 now.
Yeah, naturally.
So right now, I know I can't keep knocking off like an hour. So now my goal is just 15-minute increments is as far as I can until I know it will start being like 5 minutes. Yeah.
I mean, hey, congrats on the 54-minute PR. That's incredible. But that's the nice thing about a marathon, right? You see that if someone does the right things, they train properly, they get the right diet, those results happen. So I'm so glad you were able to experience that. And obviously the 2 marathons that you've ran, LA Marathon, Big Sur Marathon, those are 2 really top rated marathons. I haven't done either of those, but I know LA, you said it was a crowded marathon. If you want to add any context to that experience, as well as I want to hear about Big Sur and how that was, I think that'd be a really cool topic to talk about.
So originally, I was like, everyone's got to run LA Marathon because you went from the Dodger Stadium to Santa Monica Beach. And now they don't do that. Right before
Santa Monica, right?
Yeah, right before Santa Monica, you wrap back around, which is kind of lame to me. Like, I don't want to do a out and back for my marathon. But it's still cool because you start the Dodger Stadium, you're running through the streets of Hollywood. And like as someone who's started a career in filmmaking, it's very like it's just a cool experience for me. But what I love about the LA Marathon is they have like I said, tons of people lined up on the sides just cheering you on the whole time. All these like bands and dancers, and it's just like packed. It's crazy. And then Big Sur was like totally different experience. Tons of hills, and almost no one out there. It's just like you and nature. And I would like if I had to, I mean, I've only ran 2, but if I had to have someone, if I had to recommend one, it would be Big Sur over LA because the views in Big Sur, it's like a computer screensaver. Like everything you see around you is just insanely beautiful. It still feels like a dream thinking back on it. You have like these section where there's these huge trees that are completely shaded by the sun, and you're going through like these small foresty type towns, which is crazy because it's right by the beach. And then there's like these open pastures with like cows next to you, and then all of a sudden you hit these cliff tops, and it's just like, what is this place? Like it was insane.
Tempting me to sign up for that right now.
Dude, it was incredible. There is a lottery for it though. Like I signed up the moment they opened up and I was still on the lottery. You can pay extra to like be guaranteed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those races that since there are so many hills, when I did get accepted, I was like, cool. Okay, I gotta find some hills now.
Yeah. I hear you. Well, that's really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing the experience on those 2 different races. I haven't honestly spent a lot of time in LA. I've been there like twice, but both of which were like close to a decade ago. I'm not gonna lie. I definitely want to go back soon, whether it's running a race there or just like getting the experience of being there.
Hit me up if you do come out here. We can do a
100%. Now I got a good point of contact there. So
yeah.
we'll definitely go on a run if I'm able to make a trip out. But I'd love to hear about how it is running over there in LA.
Yeah, so I'm super fortunate because I'm in Santa Clarita, which is right outside of LA. Okay. And this town is like built around bike trails, paved paths. There's over, I think it's over 150 miles of paved paths. and they've set it up. I forget what they're called. Paseos, I think is the name.
Mhm.
But anyways, you can cross over they have like these bridges everywhere, so you can cross throughout the whole city and never have to like go through a street sign if you wanted to. So I'm mostly on paved paths made for runners and bikers. But I get pretty bored during like mid to end of marathon training. So I treat myself and drive about 45 minutes to an hour if there's traffic. Well, no, I only go on the weekends. But it could, if I go during the week, it could be like 2 hours just to get there. But I go to the beach, Santa Monica Beach. You can start in like Malibu and run through Santa Monica, through Venice. You might get contact high and run through Venice though. It is just like reeks of weed. And I usually
Some
turn
people
around.
like be a good thing, others a bad thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, wow, I'm feeling kind of good. Uh, but it's so crowded in Venice that I usually just turn around and head back. But I love beach runs. It's a treat for me. Usually that's like my Saturday long run. I'll go do a beach run.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. I mean, I think running on the beach, that's like a really awesome thing to do. I think that's probably, I mean, it sounds like from your end, that's one of your favorite parts about running there. So I'll
I
definitely, like I said, hit you up if I make a trip out.
Yeah, dude, seriously, please do. And I gotta say, respect to any runner who's not in California. I don't know how anyone is doing this with the snow, with the rain. Like it was sprinkling yesterday, and I was like, gotta go on the treadmill. Like I'm not going out there. Yeah, to think that people are training through this is like, I have so much respect for anyone who does it because it's intense.
Yeah, I was out on a 13-mile run this past Sunday and it was like 22 degrees. It wasn't snowing, but I
Oh
couldn't
my
feel my hands the
God.
entire run. So I'm jealous of you.
Is that the video where you were like, it doesn't, don't compare yourself to others because I'm
Well,
like,
I made that video because I was thinking of my run from that Sunday, and then it got like 8 degrees warmer, and I'm like, all right, I don't need gloves today because I'm used to running in a little bit of colder weather now.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was such a great point you made because like when you see these fast times on Strava or someone running, like you don't know how much they've trained. Also, you don't know the conditions that they're running in.
Yeah,
Like they could be running along the beach with perfect freaking weather or like literally running through snow.
exactly. And it's so easy with running to like be so incredibly hard on yourself by comparing yourself to other people.
100%. Totally agree.
Yeah, man. So I do want to talk about your content a bit. First, though, obviously you mentioned that you do video editing, or is it video editing for your full-time job, or are you in the video industry? Do you mind walking me through what your full-time work is?
Yeah, so my fiance and I, basically wife, we've been engaged forever. Our goal was to buy a house, and we did it. And now
Nice.
we're moving on
Congrats.
to marriage. I always feel like I have to explain that because I'm like, I feel like I've earned the right as husband, but I'm not legally not there yet. Anyways, so we both studied cinema and television arts in college. We actually picked the same number out of a hat in a big lecture class, and we're grouped together, and that's how we met. And that was our first project together. And out of college, Jen got a job at Nickelodeon in the creative department. She
Wow.
was like helping to develop ideas that they pitched to the network to then create as shows. And I used to go into the office as like the cute boyfriend, cute, nice boyfriend, like just bringing her lunch, bringing her a drink, just trying to get any FaceTime that I can. And then eventually, I was just the closest guy and they needed a videographer for a show. So just being in the right place, right time, I started filming and editing for Nickelodeon. It was like something I thought it was going to be a totally different experience. Again, it was like finding out Santa Claus was fake. And I was like, oh, this isn't as cool as I thought. Because like again, I'm extreme. I pour my heart and soul into everything that I do. So I was creating this content that would just air once for teenagers, and there wasn't like much art behind it, much love, much passion behind the actual product. I was giving it everything, but it just that wasn't the show.
Mhm.
Um, so then we started our own company. We're like, let's get the hell out of here. Again, so glad I did. It got me a lot of jobs because no one has ever asked to see the footage. They're just like, oh my God, you worked at Nickelodeon. Because I got to work with a lot of celebrities doing interviews and stuff like that. And that's like, you can use that in LA, right? It's like totally fake it till you make it. But while we were working there, we were starting our own company. And then eventually we had our website and video examples, and we launched our video production company, which at the time was documentary based. We would interview parents and grandparents, and they'd share their life story on camera. And then we'd add in photos and videos and create a documentary, something that can be passed down for generations. Total opposite of what I was doing for Nickelodeon. I was like working on a segment called like Dancing with Amanda, where she taught you all the hot dance moves, to now like filming grandparents. But I loved it because I love telling those stories. But it was a really hard business to grow. I realized that no one knew it existed, and we didn't have the budget to market and get the word out there. So it kind of died out. And we started doing, we're still in the world of documentary based content, but now it's more for businesses, colleges, schools, nonprofits, where we still interview people. And I think like our secret sauce is being able to connect with people and get like that raw emotion out in the interviews, like you do so well. And then, yeah, creating some story for the company. Wow. So, but I've always been involved in comedy. Like I did theater in high school only because I was going to fail Spanish class. And for some reason, theater fulfilled Spanish too. I don't know how that worked out.
Normal correlation there, right?
Yeah. And I love doing like improv nights at the high school. Like we'd have packed out, I was going to say arenas, it's not an arena, packed out, like there's like 100 seats. But it was so fun. And then in college, I did theater, and I thought I was going to go into law enforcement because my dad is a cop, retired now. And growing up, I just wanted to do what my dad did. So I had theater, and then I had Mr. Foot, who taught criminal justice, who I hated. And it was such a hard class. And I was like, man, theater, like, this sounds really fun. So that's how I got into like filmmaking. And I was like, screw this. Like, I do not want to do that for the rest of my life. And then I moved to LA when I went to Cal State Northridge, and I took more improv classes and acting classes down here just to become a better filmmaker. I realized that ultimately, like, I don't need to be in front of the camera, although I love for Run Talk. I just love to entertain, whether that's as an editor, a producer, a filmmaker, just being part of that creative process. I love, and I love being able to put out content on TikTok and just like hearing that it makes people laugh, that it made their day, that, you know, that it's inspiring them. So Run Talk is really a really special place for me because I get to combine like my filmmaking passion with my running passion into one, which before TikTok, like I never ever even thought there'd be a place to do that.
Yeah. No, that's a really, really cool story. And it makes a lot of sense because I'm not gonna lie, like I've seen a lot of your videos that you've posted, of course, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is like very high quality content. Like, how does this guy do it? And it's not even just like the videos itself, but it's also like your delivery, your humor that you have with it.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
you.
did this guy just like figure this out? But like obviously, like you know, it's about comparing yourself to other people. You don't know what anyone else has actually been through in their journey, but you've had all these great experiences that have built those skills for you, that have allowed you to create this page and bring all those skills into the highest level, which is why I think you have created such cool content. It makes a lot of sense though, because I'm just kind of like, I don't know how to do what he's doing, but like you have been through a lot to get you to this point, right?
Hey, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
by the way, everything is filmed on my iPhone. I don't think anything on my page is posted from a camera, because if I do a camera, then it will feel like work. But I edit everything on the TikTok app. Like I don't want to go to another app. I don't want to go on a computer. So like my unsolicited advice for content creators is, doesn't matter about the equipment. Sure, it helps. But like something we learned in college and in improv and just creative in general is it's all about story. Even if you're going out on a run, like you put your shot of putting your shoes on, and we don't want to see 10 shots of you putting your shoes on, right? Just like one, we're good, move on. and now you're out on your run. So like, and that is a story in 2 shots, shoes on, running, right? So it's like, regardless of the equipment you have, my focus is always story, like what's beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah. So, yeah. And how do you think of these ideas for stories? Do they come to you like before you actually create a video? Is it kind of like you put something together and then you cater it based on the content that you have? I'd be really curious to learn like how you have been able to tell really good stories through your content.
Um, Thank you again, by the way. But so I have a really interesting process. I used to try to write down ideas and then come back to those ideas and film them. But I learned that like I do most of it like in moment. When I'm inspired, I just pick up the camera and I film it because it's fresh. I feel it like through my body, like this message that I want to get out. It's on my heart. I mean it. I want to get it out there. So that's one of the techniques, if you will, that I use to get out content. And that's more for like the inspirational content or the running tips, things like that. And it could be whether I'm, eating lunch and an idea comes, or I'm just like on a run and an idea comes. I'm like, oh my God, I need to get this out. It's usually, or I would say like 9 times out of 10, it's something that I'm going through. So like I posted a video about how I felt insecure because I was comparing myself to others. If I wrote that idea down and came back to it next week when I was feeling good and I just finished a good run, like the message isn't there. So like I was literally waiting for my burrito to be made, and I was in my car and I was on TikTok scrolling and I saw all these like super in shape fast runners, and I was like, fuck. So then I just filmed the video. The other thing that I do is I have a second TikTok account that I don't post to. It's before I got my Run Talk account, MagicMileMike. And so I'm on TikTok a lot. And as I'm scrolling, if I see a trend or a sound or whatever, I'll send it to my other page in a message with a concept. And those I can film really at any time. I don't have to like have that inspiration or it to be on my heart because it's more like comedic or a silly sound or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I literally have hundreds of ideas in my messages to my other account. And when I want to film something, I just scroll through, and a lot of them are bad ideas and I just scroll right past them. But every once in a while I'll find one that I connect with. I'm like, that's it, let's do that one. So yeah, that's my technique there.
Yeah, I love that strategy. I think that's a really good idea. It's something that I haven't even thought of doing, but I think the concept of seeing a video that inspires you to create your own version that's unique to your community and the message that you're trying to get across, but maybe it's a sound, maybe it's a way in which the content was created, I think is just a really cool way to approach it. So thanks for sharing that. On the topic of sound though, something I got to talk about, and you probably know what I'm talking about. You're like a little famous for a sound that you generated. Oh. And, I think for those who are listening who don't know what it is, do you mind sharing your famous sound?
Like playing it here?
You can either play it or say it, whatever you're more comfortable with. But I heard it in a video that wasn't yours. And then I just kept seeing more and more people having their own video with that sound. And I'm just like, damn, like good for him.
Yeah, okay, here it is. I have it as a pinned video. I don't know if you'll be able to hear or see it.
Did you know that less than 1% of the world's population will complete a marathon in their lifetime? Less than 1%. That's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
I remember asking myself, do I even have the time to fit in all the training? Am I mentally strong enough to cross that finish line? I remember thinking, I don't know. But there was only one way to find out.
That's my dad yelling, Michael. That gets me choked up.
If you're wondering whether you can do it or not, I'm telling you right now, you can.
Such a great video, man. And I think why it did really well, like why so many people came out with it, was because it was literally, it probably came out right at the beginning of like fall marathon season, right? Or was it before that when it dropped?
I don't know. I didn't even plan it like that. This was one of the videos where I'm saying like where it's just on my heart and I want to get it out. So I just filmed it. I didn't think it would do anything like, and I didn't like script anything. I recorded the VO a few times and kind of found my story in the moment, but like Yeah, I've seen it everywhere. I'm like, it's so weird to be scrolling and like all of a sudden my voice pops up. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So for those who don't know, Mike, he released this video and he allowed people to use that sound for their videos. And I mean, do you have any idea how many people have actually attached the sound to their video? No clue.
I have no idea. I don't, if there's a way to find out, I'd love to know, but I have no idea.
I'll
It,
do.
it also blew up because I just got an Instagram account recently, same name, MagicMileMike, but someone had like, they took the sound and then made their own video, and then it took off on Instagram, and then someone made a joke about it, and they stitched it in the beginning was, did you know that less than 1% of people run a marathon in their lifetime? Then this dude comes on and he's like, yeah, and they never shut up about it, which is hilarious and true. So then that blew up. So it was like all these little, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because like what you're saying, it's not like you're not the first person to realize that only 1% of people have ever ran a marathon, right? But I
I
think
just Google
it. You Googled it exactly, but it was the tone in which you said it. It was the content associated with it, clearly connected with people. It was the timing. So I just thought it was cool, man. I'm glad that like you had a video, help so many people to the point where they wanted to literally do what you said you like to do, which is take that sound, send it to themselves, or just save it, whatever it is they do, and utilize it in a video that they're creating to help their community, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Do you think it's like, was it like a little weird for you, like hearing that sound in other people's videos, or were you like, wow, this is awesome? Like, what was the feeling of that?
It was a combination of everything because it was like it was weird to be scrolling and then hearing it, and then I didn't even know that many people had like used it until someone sent me someone who used it, and that went viral like just on their own. And then I clicked on the sound and I just kept scrolling and it kept going. So then I started watching. I haven't done this in a while, but I would watch everyone. I'd like it, I'd comment, and just like show my love. But so it was like it was odd. There was gratitude. There was element of surprise. Like it was just yeah, a mixture of all that.
That's
But
really
all in all, I think it's super cool because it's inspiring others to do it, and people are doing it. So it's cool. But I gotta say, we can't get past that 1% because then it won't be cool anymore.
That's true. Yeah. I mean,
I'm
maybe
just
as a result of that sound, we're gonna be at a higher percentage than one. And
gonna be 2%.
yeah, I'll snag that 2% video before you get to it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. And I mean, on the content side of things with your own personal running brand that you have, I mean, first of all, the name Magic Mile Mike, I mean, what influenced you to create that out of curiosity?
I wish I had a cooler story for this, but it was like, all right, in filmmaking, there's something called magic hour, which is like right before sunset where the lighting is beautiful. So just the word magic to me means like cinematic beauty. Um, and then there's like, I have this side of me that's very feminine, which I love. So like this Magic Mile Mike, even though dancing, I mean, culturally dancing could be seen as feminine, but it's not. But like this idea of like Magic Mile Mike, Magic Mike, he's a stripper. I've never stripped. But like, yeah, I don't know. I love to dance. I love to be silly. And my name is also Mike. There's not really much there, to be honest.
Fair enough. I mean, it has a good ring to it. I mean, and I think it's a name that like people see and they're like, oh, I know Magic Mike, and like Mile is associated with running. So I think it's simple
Yeah.
and fun, and I think it defines your personality pretty well. So I appreciate the name.
Yeah, I think that's what it was for me. It came more from like a branding standpoint of
Mhm.
like it's a catchy name that people will probably remember.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are really all the main questions that, formulated in my mind here. Is there anything, like any final thoughts that you want to just share with the community here before we, give you the opportunity to tell everyone where to find you?
Yeah, I think something for content creators is like a lot of people don't think they have something to share, or like they might think their content is boring so they don't make anything. But like everyone has their own story, their own journey, their unique experiences. And we're a lot more similar than you think. Like there's always videos that you see posted where someone like they post something so specific and everyone comes out and is like, me too. Oh my God, yes. So like we all have our unique story, but we have something similar to share. And I just encourage people to share because I would love to hear about your journey. And you never know who it's going to inspire.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's such true good advice. I think there's probably a lot of people out there who have some things that they do want to share, but could be a little intimidated by it. But I think going with that perspective that we have a lot in common and that, there is so much to share and so much value that someone could share, I think is really the best mindset to have with it. But yeah, Mike, it's been so awesome. Like I said, having you on here today, these conversations are so much fun. And I think you're really just genuinely someone who is super driven with anything that you work on, right? Whether it's your regular job, the business that you run, or I love the story about you running at the collegiate level to now running and training for marathons and going all in with those things, and then also creating content where you're able to help people out. So it's just like, it's really been a pleasure and an honor having you on, getting to know more about you. But I do want to open it up for you to share your page with people where they can find you and any other information you want to talk about with it, to, hopefully help grow your community at least a little bit from this podcast.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks for having me on and asking awesome questions and just being so kind.
You got it.
You can find me at MagicMileMike on TikTok or Instagram. And we said it a little bit before, but my content is really comedic based. I just want to make people laugh. And I want to make my tips or running tips more accessible to people. I want to like make content that's digestible, that inspires people to run. So I have comedy, inspiration, and tips all bundled up in there. So check it out. And yeah, I'd love to see you on there.
Amazing. Thank you again, Mike. I appreciate everyone for listening to another episode of the Run Breiter Podcast. Hope everyone has a great day. And as always, don't forget to run brighter.